بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So still reflecting on the importance of seeking knowledge and the importance of the purity of the intention, and as well the himma, which we say in Arabic, determination, ulu al-himma, high determination. We came across last time couple of stories, real stories, not just stories, real stories from real life about the high himma and determination. And you mentioned a couple of stories from the collection of Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda's book, rahimahullah ta'ala. In fact, I'd like to comment on some of these stories as well more, because it's important to take on board a couple of things from these stories. First, let me tell you that Imam al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi, al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi, he is, for those who have never heard about Khateeb al-Baghdadi, he is one of the great scholars of hadith. He is one of the great muhaddith. And he composed many books. In fact, in every single science in the sciences of the hadith, to the extent that anyone who came after al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi, he has to refer to al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi. No way but to refer to him. And he was born, rahimahullah, in 392 and passed away 463. And as it's obvious, he's from Baghdad originally, rahimahullah ta'ala. So among the books which he left hundreds of books actually. One of very unique books he left, rahimahullah, al-Rihla Fi Talabil Hadith. So the journey in order to seek hadith. So full book he composed just to show you. It's a sample as well. He collected many things, many stories in this book. It's a selection. So he definitely has more stories than what he selected in his book, rahimahullah ta'ala. It's an interesting book. For those who can read Arabic, you can download the book online. You can read it. I'm not sure if there's a translation for the book in English, but nevertheless, it's unbelievable. When you read some of these stories, you say, is it true what he's saying? It is. But sometimes, because we tend to compare ourselves with these stories and say, yeah, this can't happen. So for instance, the story which we narrated last time, that Jabir bin Abdullah, the companion, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he traveled 1 month to seek one hadith, only one hadith. He heard that one of the companions, Abdullah bin Unais, he has a hadith which he never heard from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was keen to go and hear that hadith, because he said I might pass away and I won't get that hadith. So I will travel to seek that hadith. So imagine he bought a camel, like you buy a new car and you make insurance for the car because you are traveling abroad. You have extension for the insurance for Europe, for instance. And he bought what needs to be taken with him for the journey. It's a 1 month journey. And it's a lot of troubles and a lot of money and a lot of issues related to that. And then on that journey, you have to have different stations on the road, and then you sleep, and then you might not have a place to sleep. You might have, in these days you say a tent or something. That days, no tents, nothing. They will just sleep wherever they find, under the tree somewhere, a cave, or if there's no cave, whatever is available. And the danger of the journey, because you cannot guarantee it's a safe road. Although you try your best to follow the right road and safe route. So you reflect upon this journey, for instance, and you see, subhanAllah, it's that long journey only for one single hadith. Can you imagine this? One single hadith. He just wanted to hear that hadith. So it took him 1 month journey going and 1 month coming back. And the moment he heard the hadith, he made his way back. That's it. He's not for business into this journey. He's not for anything else. He's just for this very hadith. And it shows you, subhanAllah, how determined he was, and what was the himmah which he has, what kind of intention he has, what kind of energy he has, just to go and seek one hadith. And look at us. And this is where the problem is, when we start comparing. And look at us. We have thousands and thousands of hadith and knowledge online, offline, books, CDs, digital, you name it. And we are a bit lazy. You don't have that himmah. SubhanAllah, it's something beyond your comprehension sometimes. In another story which I came across, as well, al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi, he narrated in his book. And as well, Sheikh Fattah, rahimahullah, he collected these stories from this book or similar book to that, rahimahullah. So, al-Khateeb al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah, he mentioned the story of one of the great Imams in Hadith, Imam Shu'bah. And the thing here in the story of, before we talk about Shu'bah, the story of Jabir bin Abdullah, he's willing to spend money, a lot of money. You see, even today, a journey for 1 month, it's not cheap. Yes? So he bought a new camel or vehicle, let's say. He spent money on that. He bought the preparation, the food, the equipment, the stuff which you need for the journey as well. He spent a lot of money and energy and sweat and food and drinks and many things for one hadith. Imagine. So if you were to do the calculation, I'm not sure how much would that be. but definitely it's a lot of money. The camel alone is big money. And to go and sleep and have these stations and hire a place to sleep, or the food and the drinks and the expenditures and expenses, it will be, just do it in today's calculation. If you want to do a journey for 1 month and buy a new car and have insurance and have I don't know what, and petrol and the rest of it, you do calculation for 1 month journey, how much it will cost you, where to sleep and what to pay, and it will be hundreds, probably thousands and thousands of pounds. And what's the end result? You collected one hadith from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this, how much means one hadith to them? So you see the difference. For them, one hadith is worth a fortune. Half of his wealth probably he is willing to spend to get one hadith. Subhanallah. What is this? And look at us. It's us under our fingertips. And we are, I'm not sure if I'm going to attend the circle or press the button to get into Zoom. Just press the button, yes? And he's buying a new vehicle, new camel, riding the camel, having the troubles, and he might even die during that journey. He might have high street robberies. He might have, I don't know, a beast on his way. He might have, you never know. Just for one hadith. They appreciated the knowledge. They glorified the knowledge. They respected the knowledge. And this is how we get, i.e. the Ummah, where it led the civilization. It created a new civilization with this high himmah. And other story which I wanted to share with you, again, it's again something beyond imagination. It's the story of Imam Shu'bah. He had somebody, Nasr bin Hamad al-Warraq. This is the story. Nasr bin Hamad al-Warraq. He said, كنا قعودا على باب شعبة. Shu'bah, he's a great muhaddith. He said, we were sitting in front of the door of Imam Shu'bah and just talking about knowledge and the narrations and so on and so forth. Shu'bah was listening. So Nasr bin Hamad, he's the narrator. He's the one who's telling the story. He said, فقلت حدثنا إسرائيل. So he's narrating, it's a long story now, but I'll try to summarize it for you, inshallah. He said, حدثنا إسرائيل. He's narrating the chain of transmitters. Chain of transmitters from whom I received this narration. So my sheikh and the sheikh of my sheikh and so on and so forth. So he's narrating his chain. So he said, حدثنا إسرائيل عن أبي إسحاق السبيعي, it means, عن عبد الله بن عطاء عن عقبة بن عامر. Yes, so he's narrating his chain. قال كنا نتناوب رعية الإبل على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فجئت ذات يوم والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حوله أصحابه. The hadith. So he's narrating the hadith. So anyway, I will not go through the details of the hadith because we have different narrations. So he's narrating that this hadith is about this. So who narrated this? He's giving his chain of transmitters. So Shu'bah was listening. And Shu'bah, when he heard the hadith, came out and he was not pleased with that. And he punched Nasr bin Hamad. He punched him. And then he left, he closed his door and he entered his house. And Nasr bin Hamad was so annoyed and he was crying. How did you do this to him? And his friends and the shuyukh around him, and they were annoyed by what Shu'bah made. And Shu'bah didn't come out for a while. And then for a long while as well. And afterwards, Shu'bah came out. And he did find Nasr bin Hamad still crying. And he said, what's wrong with him? Why is he crying? He said, you forgot what you've done to him. He said, yeah, but look what he's saying in his sanad. This is the wrong sanad. This can't happen. And he said, okay. Yes. So he mentioned the sanad for him. And he said, okay, I'll go and trace the sanad. And Shu'bah went and traced the sanad. So from where did you get this? From X. And he went from where he was. From Kufa to Mecca to Medina. And he went probably to... so he went around 5 countries. 5 countries. He went to 5 countries or cities. Yes. So some of it, as I said, Mecca, Medina, Kufa, Basra, probably Egypt. So he went to 5 cities just to get to the bottom of that chain of transmitters, because there's something wrong with it. And towards the end of it, he was right. There's something wrong with the sanad. It's a long story. I've just summarized it for you. It's a long story. So when you read this story, you say, SubhanAllah, what is this? The high himma which he has, first place. Forget about the punch, what he has done to Nasr. He was so keen on getting the authenticity of the sanad, because the sanad is the connection to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you got the connection wrong, then you are risking the hadith. And so what? Then you are giving the wrong information. And so what? You are ruining the deen. This is what they were keen about, to keep the deen protected and preserved as they received it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the himma which he has, and he's one of many actually, the determination which he has and they have, it's beyond our comprehension. So imagine yourself, and no one is paying you, by the way. He's just paying from his pocket. And I told you the last time, they were very poor. So he will sell his house, as in some narrations. One of the great Qurra, actually, Hisham, from Sham, one of the great Qurra among the 10 reciters, the well-famous reciters from Sham. At that time, Sham, as today, we still recognize the definition of Sham as Palestine, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon. This is Bilad al-Sham, we call it. So Hisham, he was from there. His dad, he was a young boy in his teens. So his dad prepared him and spent a lot of money on him, to the extent when he reached 20, 21, something like that, he has 2 houses. He sold one house and they lived in one house. And he took the money of that house which he sold, and he prepared his son Hisham to go to Imam Malik to Medina to hear from Imam Malik. Believe this or not. He sold his house just to go and learn under Imam Malik, to hear from Imam Malik the hadith. They will spare nothing for the sake of knowledge. And this is how we reached to that level of leading a new civilization. For that, because it wasn't supported by the government here. It was self-funded journeys. I'll tell you later the story of Hisham. But in the story of Shu'bah, it's an amazing story. Imagine how much money he paid, how much troubles he got into. And it's not, you know, that you take your phone and you call, yeah, are you at home? Yeah, okay, I'm coming. No, he will go and he doesn't know where this person is. And he will go and start asking in the market, in the mosque. Probably they will start from the mosque. Where is X? They will say his house is somewhere here, or he's in the other city, or he was here and he left and he went to Hajj, or and some of them, many stories. So some of them he will go for Hajj because he knew that this person will be in Hajj at that time. And he said, I have no intention to go to Hajj. I've already done my Hajj. But I went to Hajj particularly for this very reason, to meet him, to ask him about this sanad in particular. Imagine. A lot of troubles. Why? Because their deen is more valuable than anything. The authenticity of the sanad is more valuable than anything. To get the purity of the chain of transmitters and the soundness of the chain of transmitters is more valuable than anything. Why? Because this is how we protect our deen. And what's in it for them? The Prophet ﷺ made a special dua. نَضَّرَ اللَّهُ امْرَأً سَمِعَ مَقَالَتِي فَوَعَاهَا فَأَدَّاهَا كَمَا سَمِعَهَا. May Allah illuminate the face of someone who hears my hadith and preserve it as it is and narrate it as he heard it from me. So he made a special dua sallallahu alayhi wasallam for those who protect and preserve the sunnah, as well as, of course, the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla has protected the Quran. So these kind of qualities who carried the deen for us and disseminated this message from the Prophet to the companions, to the followers, and so on and so forth. So Imam Malik, rahimahullah, or Imam Shu'bah, rahimahullah, he took on board all these troubles just to make sure that the sanad is correct sanad. There is nothing wrong with that sanad. And he got to the bottom of that sanad. So he followed all the narrators who were still alive. All the narrators who were still alive. He followed them. He said, where did you get this from? He said, حدثنا فلان. We got it from X. He will go to X. And where's X? It's in the other country. It's not next door. Yes? It's not on your phone, you call him. No. Next country. Next country, how many days? A month to go there. Okay, no problem. Ready? Ready? Prepare your stuff. We are going to chase this. Are you joking? No, they will go. And then he will go to that city. Where is X? He is X. Okay. I've heard this hadith, X from Y. Okay, you are Y. Who narrated this hadith to you? He said B. Okay, he'll go, okay. And B is still alive? Yes. Okay, where is he? He's in another city. And he will go to the other city. And this is what happened with Shu'bah. He went through many cities in circle. And he came back to, by the way, to Iraq. He went from Iraq, he came back to Iraq because the other narrator was in Iraq. So it's a full circle journey. I don't know how many months it took him. I don't know how much did he pay. I don't know how many troubles he got into. And all of this only for one single sanad, one single narrator. He doubted one narrator in the sanad, one narrator. And imagine the sanad at that time has 6 people, 4 people, 5 people, that's it. So he went through 4 or 5 cities to get into the bottom of that sanad. To that extent, they were so keen to get the authenticity. And how many hadiths we have in the sunnah? Many, many hadiths. Hundreds of thousands of hadiths we have. And how many sanad we have? The scholars, because the sanad has different numbers of the hadith. The hadith, which is قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Yes, this is the matan of the hadith. I'll just do a very quick explanation for some of you who are not familiar with the hadith. So in the hadith, for instance, عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات. So Umar ibn al-Khattab is narrating that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said actions are bought by intention. So Umar is the narrator of the hadith, and this is what we call sanad. The matan is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. So actions are bought by intention. This is the matan, and all of this we call hadith. Okay, so the collection of sanad and matan together we call hadith. So in order to get the authenticity of the matan, you have to have authentic chain of transmitters also. And it's a long story. We delivered a couple of courses on that. And it's a science. We learn in order to understand the terminologies and how did the sunnah preserved. So they will go and check the sanad. So the scholars of hadith, they will check the sanad and check the matan as well. It's not just a sanad. You might have a very good sanad and connected sanad and authentic sanad, but the matan, there's something wrong with it because somebody missed something in the sanad. Somebody forgotten to say a word in the sanad or added something to the matan. All these kind of possibilities. So they will get to the bottom of that. Yes? And this is not an easy task. It's a very heavy job to do. And I told you, for instance, what happened with Shu'bah and many others. Shu'bah is one of the examples. Radiallahu ta'ala anhum, may Allah have mercy on them all. So they have this himma of carrying the deen and protecting the deen and protecting the sunnah, protecting the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is not a light job. It's a heavy task job. But they are ready to take this. And they felt the sweetness of the bitterness of that journey. So yes, it was difficult but they felt the bitterness of that journey, as what happened with Imam Ahmad and Ibn Ma'in and another muhaddith. So Imam Ahmad was with a friend of him, and they wanted to visit Ibn Ma'in. Ibn Ma'in is one of the great scholars. So they want to visit Ibn Ma'in. So the friend of Imam Ahmad, he said, I will test Ibn Ma'in and see if he's really memorized everything he's narrating or not. And this was a common thing to test the shuyukh. But not Ibn Ma'in. Ibn Ma'in, he is one of the great authorities in hadith. So Imam Ahmad said to him, don't do that with Ibn Ma'in. Ibn Ma'in, he's beyond this. He said, no, I'll do this. He said, I told you, don't do that. He said, no, I'll do it. And then he prepared 30 hadith from hadith of Ibn Ma'in. Yes? And with after every 10 hadith, he will insert a hadith which is not from the narrations of Ibn Ma'in. So he has 30 hadith and 3 inserts in these 30 hadith. And they went to Ibn Ma'in and they knocked on his door, and then he came out and then he saw them and he welcomed them and he sat with them. And I forgot his name now. Imam Ahmad's friend, he said, I want to narrate for you some of your hadith. Ibn Ma'in said, yes, welcome. Bismillah. And he started, you narrated this hadith from this, and then he mentioned the first hadith, second hadith, and Ibn Ma'in is saying, yes. After he finished 10 hadith, he mentioned the 10th, the 11th. Ibn Ma'in said, no, this is not my hadith. So cancel it. He said, okay, cancel the hadith. Then he started the second 10 hadith. He narrated and then they finished the 10 and then he inserted the 11th. Ibn Ma'in said, no, this is not my hadith. And he's narrating from his memorization. Yeah, said, no, this is not my hadith. Cancel it. Then he cancelled it. Then he finished the last 10 hadith, and then he inserted the last one. The moment he mentioned the third hadith, which he put deliberately, Ibn Ma'in recognized that this is a trap. And his face was red, and he was angry. And he said, this is not my hadith, cancel it. He looked at Imam Ahmad and he said, Imam Ahmad, he is more pious than doing this trick to me. It's you who has done this. And Ibn Ma'in, he kicked this person. He kicked him. And he said, don't do this to me. And then he left and he entered to his house. And the sheikh who was kicked, he said, Wallahi, this kick is more sweet than anything I received, because now I know that Ibn Ma'in, he's 100% authentic in everything he narrates. So you can't imagine how they protected the sunnah and the himmah which they have. And I was mentioning earlier regarding how much did they spend money, efforts, sweat and tears and blood and you name it to seek this knowledge. Like Hisham, I told you, the Shami. He went to Imam Malik to learn from Imam Malik in Medina. And his dad, he sold his house. One of 2 houses he sold, and he spent all this money to teach his son the sunnah. And this is how valuable was the deen for them and the sunnah for them, how valuable the knowledge was for them. And at the same time, you see their determination you travel miles and distances and months. And we talked about Baqi bin Makhlad last time. He traveled on foot from Cordoba, which we call today, on foot from there to Damascus, to Baghdad, as he made many journeys. So he went to Baghdad to meet Imam Ahmad on foot. Imagine, that journey took him around 15 years and some 20 years as well, depends where he went. On foot, imagine. We are not willing to spend even 15 days on a journey to seek knowledge, or 20 days, let alone 15 years or 20 years. So again, you see this himmah, determination which they have. This is what made them what they were, actually. So somebody will have sleepless nights searching for one word. And one of them, one of the great muhaddis as well, he's one of the narrators of Bukhari. He said, I've been asking about one word for 40 years. This hadith has been narrated this way or this way. This word, not the hadith, one word in the hadith. Is it with fatha or with dhamma as well? Or we can say dhamma and fatha at the same time? He said, I've been asking for this for 40 years. Look at this himmah. 40 years for one single word. Not even a word. He's asking about fatha or dhamma. Fatha or dhamma in that word for 40 years. This is in fatha and dhamma 40 years to be authentic about it. So what would he do with the rest of the hadith? And the hundreds of thousands of hadith which he memorized. Each hadith he will treat it like that. If he's treating one word like this, if that Shu'bah radiallahu anhum is treating one sanad like this, if Imam Ahmad is treating one hadith like this. So this is the way they dealt with the knowledge. I'm just speaking about the hadith because we have plenty of stories being authenticated and preserved for us. But of course, in other sciences, we have plenty of scholars dealing with this knowledge similarly. So they will learn Arabic, they will learn fiqh, they will learn aqidah, they will learn tafsir, and they will learn the literature, many things. And in each and every science, they think and believe that this will make them closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. And they believe this is the way of worshipping Allah. And in every single breath, they are spending in this knowledge or money or anything or efforts, it is a reward recorded for them in the Akhirah. And they worship Allah through this, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how they valued the knowledge. This is how they carried the knowledge. This is how they disseminated the knowledge. With this himmah, with this determination, with this intention. No wonder how you see then what they have left is unimaginable. You see, how did they manage to do this? Yes, with the ikhlas which they have, with the purpose which they have. They have a purpose. We want to master the sciences. Every science which is beneficial and useful, we will master it. Be it physics, be it mathematics, be it fiqh, be it hadith, be it Quran, any science which is beneficial, we want to master it because this is a way to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They valued the knowledge. So we need to value the knowledge as such. We need to feel that this knowledge is a way of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The person who's in his lab doing experiments, if he has the right intention, he will be rewarded for that, especially now in the COVID-19. If you got the intention to have the new vaccine and contribute to the well-being of people and so on, you are rewarded, inshallah ta'ala. For the frontliners who are supporting and working and helping people, be it in hospitals, be it in any front lines, is important and it is rewarded. So having the intention is good and is rewarding. So we need to understand how to deal with this and how to get into this. And the more you read about this, the more you feel, what I'm really doing in my life. Look at them. Look at them. Is it possible for somebody to reach to that level? It is. With ikhlas, you can go miles ahead of anyone. With ikhlas, but do it with ikhlas. Do it with purpose. Do it for Allah's sake. Then Allah will open the doors and gates of knowledge for you, and you will excel. But ikhlas is important. It's so important, ikhlas. I remember a story our Shaykh rahimahullah used to tell us about this story. Shaykh Mullah Abdul Alim al-Zanki, one of my early shuyukh in Damascus, rahimahullah, is from the Kurdish shuyukh, rahimahullah. When I met him, he was around 80 something, and I was in my 20s. He was like my grandfather, rahimahullah. Very sweet, very nice person, and very full of knowledge and spirituality, rahimahullah. So he was telling us a story about a book which is very close to his heart. Although it's not a book in spirituality, but it's a book in grammar, Arabic grammar. And the name of the book is Mullah Jami, they call it. Mullah Jami, the author of the book is Mullah Jami. It's one of the complicated books in Arabic grammar. And the Sheikh loves this book because Mullah Jami is a special character and a special scholar. And Sheikh loves Mullah Jami as the author. So he wrote a book and many books as well in different sciences, but one of these books he wrote in the grammar, Arabic grammar. Anyway, it's difficult book, very difficult book. You read, it's like encryptions. And the Sheikh's speciality, rahimahullah, was these encryptions. So I wish I can show you some of these books which we used to read. You can't even figure out what's on the page. Yes, it's a page full of notes from above, from underneath, from here. It's like a map. So the Sheikh was in love with these books. Anyway, so he narrated the story that somebody was reading Mullah Jami in the mosque. And it's a difficult book. So the Sheikh was reading to his students, and he came across something he couldn't understand. So he couldn't understand, And he said to his students, to be honest, I don't know what's that sentence. What does it mean? But let's go and pray. Inshallah, we'll come back and see what the meaning of that sentence will be. And it happened that Mullah Jami was in that mosque, and he had the sheikh. Yes, it's in his lifetime of Mullah Jami. So he was in that mosque, and he had the sheikh. He's saying, I couldn't understand what that sentence means, but we'll pray and come back. So they went to pray, and Mullah Jami came, and he knows the sentence because this is his book, and he wrote the explanation of that sentence on that book. And after the sheikh finished the salah, he came back, he made dua in his salah that Allah facilitate for him to understand what that sentence means, because he doesn't know. And Allah is the one who gives the understanding. And when he came back, and he started Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim as usual, and we left here the sentence which we couldn't explain, and the meaning of the sentence, and he was surprised. Somebody commented on his book. Yes, and it was Mullah Jami's, the author himself. He explained what that sentence means. And the core of the story, it's about ikhlas. If you have ikhlas, Allah will open the door for you, and He will give you the understanding. But you have to do your best. You have to have himmah. Yes, in English you say the sky is the limit. Yes, I usually say no, the sky is the start, because from the sky we received the revelation. So this is how our start was, from the sky. The start is the sky is the start, it's not the end. So we can, inshallah ta'ala, have more himmah to seek more knowledge and appreciate and value the knowledge. And how do we prioritize knowledge? As one of you asked a question here. Of course, the most important knowledge is what makes you close to Allah Azza wa Jal, the fard ayn knowledge. And last time we talked about the difference between or the divisions of the obligation in knowledge. So knowledge is of two parts, the obligatory knowledge and the optional knowledge. The obligatory knowledge, every single Muslim should know. How to pray, how to fast, how to do Hajj, how to do Zakah if you have money, and how to do your transactions if you are into business, how to do this, how to do that, depends where you are. And this is the obligatory knowledge for everyone who's a Muslim. The optional knowledge, or the communal knowledge, which we call it fard kifaya. If some of the community done this, is enough. Like, for instance, the knowledge of medicine. It's not obligatory knowledge on every single individual to learn medicine, but it's on every single individual to learn how to pray. Whether he's a doctor or a teacher or a lawyer or whatever, they have to learn how to understand the knowledge, or how to perform the obligation actually. So we have different levels. The common level, everyone is equal here. The obligatory knowledge, fard al-ayn. Fard al-kifaya, it varies from person to person, from time to time, etc. That's it actually. I just wanted to share with you some of these stories, reflect actually on these stories, and show you how valuable was the knowledge to them, and how important was the knowledge to them. And from there, you can see how did they achieve what they achieved. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ونسألك قلبا خاشعا ونسألك رزقا واسعا ونسألك عملا متقبلا. Ya Allah, increase our understanding, increase our knowledge. Ya Rahimin, increase our closeness to you, improve our character, Ya Allah. Forgive us our sins, our shortcomings. Give us ikhlas, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Give us high himma, high determination, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Help us to pass on the message as we received it from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Make us the messengers of the messengers Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Help us to disseminate the beauty of your message, Ya Rabbal Alameen, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. صلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.